So once you complete with the texturing stage, you can move on to the lighting stage. Okay, make sure the Arnold plugin is loaded. So if it's not loaded, you can load manually by going to Plugin Manager, and make sure the MTOA it's both are tick. You can click refresh and close. Now, in Maya, there are two different methods to create lights. Okay, so the first one is you create Maya light by going to create lights, and you can choose any of this light. Okay, most of the time you're going to be using the area light, directional, or spotlight. Okay, so let's go ahead and do spotlight. Okay, and this is what the spotlight do. Okay, and if I press Ctrl A, it will show me the attribute for that spotlight. Okay, and if you move your mouse to the Arnold tab, it will give me another option for it. Now, some of the attribute, if you look at it, it's grayed out. Okay, like the exposure and the radius. So what it means that Maya telling you like it is the suggested attribute that you should change, or when you're doing or when you're tweaking this lighting. Okay, so if I render this, or make sure everything is on right renderer. So if it's not set or set wrongly, you're gonna have a black screen. Now, so once you render and everything become black, okay, so as I mentioned before, Arnold or Maya, okay, tells you like, hey, this is the attribute that you might need to change when you are setting up this light. Okay, you can forget about the rest, but do this one first. So that's what it means. Okay, it's easier for the beginners to tweak the light, because there are many attributes. If you look at it, right, people can get quite confusing. So by having these grayed out or the highlight attributes, okay, it's easier for the beginners to tweak the light. Now, let's change the value for the exposure to 5. And if I render, I can see like there is a bit of illumination happening there. Okay, it's not enough, so we're going to go back again, and we're going to put like higher value, maybe 10. Okay, and I'm going to get something like this. Okay, so this is a value of 10. Now, if you scroll up, right, and you see intensity and exposure, I usually go for exposure. Okay, both attribute does the same thing, which to make the light brighter. Okay, but I prefer to use exposure because again it resembles what you have in the camera. So if you are comfortable using camera, we have this attribute called exposure, which does the same thing. It allows light to go to your camera, and thus the result will become brighter, okay, as compared to intensity. But if there is no exposure, then I can go ahead and tweak the intensity value to make the light brighter. Okay, so maybe 10 may not be enough, so I can go ahead and put 15 and render again. Right, and this is what 15 look like. Okay, so when it comes to lighting, the process involved is that you have to keep tweaking the value and you have to render until you get the desired look. Okay, so it's a bit repetitive because you have to keep going back and set up the correct value. Okay, and again, I mean, you have to experiment. So let's change the radius to maybe 2.6, right, and see what it does. Okay, so there's not much different. So maybe I'm gonna put like 50 and let's see. Okay, you can see like this one is getting whiter, okay, as compared to value of 0. Okay, so all these you need to kind of like do a experiment. So you have to put a value, especially on the grayed out one, because they are the value that Arnold suggests for you to change. Okay, so 50 will do that. Okay, and again, don't forget to kind of like play with other light as well. Okay, Okay, so you can go to create light, and then you can put directional. So directional, sort of like the sun. So if I go to my Arnold, right, render, I'm gonna get a different kind of mood as compared to the previous spotlight, and this is what I'm gonna get. Okay, so let's put like 5 and see what it does. Okay, 5 is a bit too bright. Maybe I'm gonna put like 2 and render, and this is what I get. Okay, again, light itself, like, it's pretty intense subject, so there's gonna be another module like covering just light on its own. Okay, now one more thing, you can create light using a different method. So you can go to Arnold and go to the lights, area light. So all these also available for you to use. Okay, so I want to use my area light. Okay, and again, if there's any exposure attribute, I'm going to be using exposure as compared to intensity, right? And I'm going to render with the value of 5. Okay, it's not still dark, so I want to increase the value, maybe 15. Okay, too dark, too bright, so I'm going to put maybe 11, and I'm going to get something like this. Okay, so there's a lot of like experiment when it comes to lighting, okay, in terms of the position, right, and also like the scale. So if I make this like bigger, right, I'm gonna get a different result. Okay, so there is really no formula on how you create light. Okay, but the objective is still the same. You try to create the render result as nice as possible. Okay, so I think like this kitchen is nice, so it's nice. Okay, even though this is a bit too dark, but I can see there is some nice illumination happening around here. So I can see like this is a kitchen set. Alright, this is a kitchen set as well. Everything's nice and clear. Okay, now you can put like more than one light in the scene, so I can duplicate maybe, and I can make this a bit smaller, right, and maybe increase the intensity and put this a little bit further away. Okay, so you need to be like creative with the light placement and the color as well. Okay, and obviously you can also put like a different color in the scene. So in this case, I'm going to put like a little bit yellow. Not too yellow, because if you put like this much yellow, you're gonna get like quite awful like coloration. Okay, so just a bit of yellow, just a bit like that. Okay, yeah, okay, it should be enough, and render. Okay, so it's not so bad. So I want to save it and I'm going to compare. Okay, so this is a pure white and this is like a bit of yellow. I think it's still a bit too yellow. You can tweak it down if you want. So maybe to around this much. Okay, and then like this giant light can also have a different color. Maybe slightly orange, just slightly, right? And you're gonna have nice like coloration. Okay, so again, you need to experiment with the color, the size, the position, and the exposure. Okay, so in this stage, I don't expect you to create like a very complex light rig. Okay, just enough to create like this scenery. Okay, so maybe a couple of light, 4, maybe 5 is okay. I don't expect you to create like 20 light in the scene. Okay, because they will make the render like super slow. Okay, so just enough to make a good render. Now, one more thing that I want to highlight is that like when it comes to the rendering, right, there one more step that you have to do. So make sure, right, all this history stack is being cleaned out. Okay, so by pressing this button, it will clean up all the history stack. Okay, I've seen people like still submitting their assignment with all these stack. Okay, because if you stack like so many, it will crash Maya often because all these history stack will eat up your memory. Okay, and sometimes when it comes to rendering, it will require a lot of memory processes, whatever, right? So by cleaning up all these, it will actually lessen the burden your CPU or your GPU. Okay, so let's try to submit a clean object next time for the assignment submission. Okay, so you can select the entire object and just press this delete history. Okay, and if there's any numbering here, I also like to clean up by clicking this button, right? So this will freeze up the transformation that we did. Okay, now everything 0, 0, 0 and 1. Okay, and again with this one, you have to do that. So easier way is that you select everything and just click that one. Okay, now both walls are clean, the floor also clean, and these two objects also clean. Okay, so this is what we consider as a clean object. And again, go ahead and just like experiment with the light. Okay, it's very easy to just create like a basic light setup. Just make a light. Okay, go to the Arnold tab and just change the exposure for now. Okay, so in the different module, we can go to these individual attributes and see what it does.